Am I the a-hole for telling my biological daughter I was nothing more than an egg donor and that her real mother is the woman who raised her? 25 years ago, my close friend Clara and her husband James were struggling with infertility. Clara couldn't conceive or use her own eggs. She asked me if I would consider carrying a baby for them, using my egg and James's sperm. I had already had my 2 kids and was done having children. I was hesitant at first, but eventually I agreed because I wanted to help my friend become a mother. 9 months later, their daughter Bella was born. From the start, Clara and James raised her as their own. I've always been auntie to her, just a close family friend, and that's all she ever knew. My own kids always knew the truth. I never hid it from them. They understood that Bella was biologically related to them and that I had helped my friend start a family. I never told Bella anything because I truly didn't feel it was my place. It was something her parents needed to decide if or when to tell her. A few weeks ago, Bella and her fiancé were at his family's house, and they all did one of those DNA kits for fun. When the results came back, Bella saw that she had Cuban and black ancestry, which confused her since she knows both her parents are white. Instead of asking them, she used the combination to their safe, which she had learned a while back, and started going through their personal documents. She found an old photo of me pregnant in a hospital bed with Clara holding my hand, and she also found paperwork about Clara's infertility. After that, she started pulling away, especially from Clara, and none of us understood why until everything exploded. My family and I were over at Clara and James's house helping with wedding prep. At one point, Clara and I were in the kitchen talking about my kids, and Clara mentioned that I had paid for both of their weddings. She said she wished she could do the same for her daughter. Bella must have overheard because she walked in and suddenly said that I should be paying for her wedding too, since she's also my daughter. I was totally thrown off. Clara asked what she meant, and Bella just snapped. She said I was her real mother and accused Clara and James of lying to her. She said she had grown up in a fake home while my kids got the life she was supposed to have. She slammed the photo on a table and stormed out with her fiancé. The next day, Clara asked me to come over. Bella didn't want to, but showed up later after Clara begged her. She told us about the DNA test and going through the safe, and how she felt like this answered something she had always felt deep down. She said she's always been jealous of my kids, not just for their vacations or home life, but also because I gave them a good life without any hardships. She said she still loves Clara, but feels like she never really belonged, and now she thinks I'm the missing piece. She even called Clara a child snatcher. That's when I stepped in. I told her she needed to stop talking to Clara like that. She turned to me and said, "You're my real mother. Why don't you love me?" I told her as calmly as I could that I was nothing more than an egg donor. I told her I love her like a niece and that's all. Clara is her mother, not me. I wasn't the one who raised her. I wasn't there for her childhood. Clara was. I never saw her as my daughter because that wasn't the role I had in her life. She left again crying, and since then has sent me over 20 messages. Some are angry and some are pleading. She's asked me to meet with her and James because she says we're her real parents. She says she loves Clara, but insists she's always felt a disconnect, and that I'm the reason why. Clara and I have been in touch since the blow-up, and we're both heartbroken. My husband thinks I should have a one-on-one with Bella, but honestly, I feel like there's nothing left to say. I didn't raise her, Clara did. She was always a wonderful mother, and up until now, she and Bella had a great relationship. I don't know why Bella is spiraling like this. Clara was there for every birthday, every school day, every scraped knee, heartbreak, and milestone. I made peace with my role in Bella's life a long time ago. I never saw myself as her mother, not because I didn't care, but because that was never the agreement. I helped a friend become a mother, and I kept that promise. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I am mixed myself. Bella has light skin with incredibly loose curls. From the outside looking in, she does look like Clara's biological daughter. Now for the top comments. Sounds like Bella is having an existential crisis. Exactly, that's what it looks like to me too. She found out something huge in the worst way possible, and now she's scrambling to make sense of who she is. It's messy, but yeah, definitely feels like an identity spiral more than anything else. she found out something huge in the worst way possible. Clara and James really did Bella a disservice by hiding this from her for 25 years. It's generally considered best practice to be open about things like donation and adoption from the very beginning. Many would be surprised to see how many things a young child can wrap their head around when you're communicating with them. 1. Not the a-hole. You told her the truth. 2. Clara and James should have been open about how she came into the family much sooner and with the help of a therapist. Keeping this a secret while everyone but her knew made her feel betrayed and lied to, which is understandable. 3. Bella needs therapy for herself and family therapy for her and her parents together. If she really felt disconnected, there must be a reason for it. Seriously, my mom met and married my dad when I was a toddler and he adopted me, and they gave me his last name. They could have kept it from me, but they didn't. I always knew my dad adopted me. I never felt bad about it. In fact, I felt chosen, because he loved me and raised me when he didn't have to. Finding out at 25 would have been devastating. I'm glad I always knew. Next story. Am I the a-hole for moving out of my uncle's house when he announced another foster placement? I've been living with my uncle and his wife since I was 8. I'm 19, female now. My parents died in a car accident, and my uncle took me in. When I was 14, they started fostering kids because they said they wanted to help children like they helped me. In the 5 years since then, they've had 8 different foster kids come through, usually 2 to 3 at a time. My uncle and his wife mean well, but they have no clue how to handle troubled kids. The foster children have serious behavioral issues. They steal food and hoard it in their rooms until it rots. They smear things on the walls, destroy furniture when they're upset, and have violent outbursts. One kid punched holes in every door upstairs. Another one threw a chair through the living room window during a tantrum. The worst part is that my uncle and his wife always make me the unofficial caretaker. When they brought in 2 little ones last year, they moved them into my room instead of setting up the spare room properly, and I had to help with night terrors, bedwetting, and basically parenting duties. They're constantly asking me to watch the kids when they go out or deal with crisis situations because you're so good with them. Last month, when my uncle announced they were approved for 2 more placements, siblings with significant trauma backgrounds, I'd had enough. I called my best friend, whose family has always treated me like their own daughter, and begged them to let me move in. They were shocked when I explained everything and immediately said yes. I packed my important documents and belongings and left that same day. My uncle and his wife are furious because they're losing their free help and because I didn't discuss it with them first. My friend's parents had to deal with angry calls, and now my uncle is threatening to report them for interfering with a family situation. Am I the a-hole? You are an adult. Your uncle and aunt can't do anything about where you live. If they keep up the harassment of the family that took you in, encourage the family to press charges of harassment and get protection orders for all of you. Your aunt and uncle may have had good intentions, but it is not enough. They are out of line and not doing anyone any favors, especially you. You are not the a-hole. Protect yourself and start planning your future independence. Thank you. That's really reassuring to hear. My friend's parents are definitely considering legal action if the harassment continues. Report them for what? Your uncle and his wife not only don't know how to take care of troubled kids, but also don't know how to threaten LOL. You're an adult and you can move wherever you wish. They cannot report anything. If at all the police show up, you could just say it was your decision and your uncle and his wife cannot do anything. Right? I think he's just panicking because he realizes how much unpaid labor he's about to lose. Thanks for the reassurance. I would call up a social worker or CPS, whoever you're used to dealing with, and let them know that you are no longer in the house and you no longer want to be an approved babysitter. I should clarify, in my state, you have to be approved no matter your age to babysit for foster children through CPS, even if you're another child living in the house. Next story. Am I the a-hole for staying full-time at my mom's to avoid my stepsister and my dad's expectations for our relationship? My parents got divorced when I, 16 female, was really little, and my dad remarried when I was 4. My stepsister is the same age as me. I spent every other week at Dad's house, so I had an equal relationship with both of my parents. My stepsister saw her dad once or twice a year, and that stopped happening after a few years of my dad and stepmom being married. Because we were so close in age and somewhat similar, my dad and stepmom decided we would be the best of friends and do everything together. When I was at their house, we were expected to hang out all the time and include each other in everything, even if it was hanging out with friends. My stepsister became super attached to it, but I hated it, especially the part about not being able to see friends without the other involved. After a few years, my stepsister pretended to like all the things I did, so we'd be in the same after-school activities, and so our birthday parties were identical, right down to the type of cake we'd get. It also meant we got fewer gifts and had to share big stuff instead, because we both loved them anyway. At Dad's house, nothing was mine, not my clothes, my toys, or even my room. Whenever I tried to get space from my stepsister, she'd complain to her mom or my dad, and my dad would step in and tell me I needed to make time for my sister. He and my stepmom started pressuring mom to take my stepsister out with us whenever we did things. I remember my stepmom calling my mom a C-word for saying no to taking my stepsister to the trampoline park with me and my friends. Then it was my dad and stepmom yelling at mom for throwing me friend parties and not inviting my stepsister. And every sleepover my mom let me and my friends have was a huge deal to my dad and stepmom. My mom and dad fought in court when I was 10 because dad accused mom of alienating me from my stepsister, and mom wanted to get me therapy to help me process the pressure I faced at dad's house. Dad didn't want me in therapy, except for family therapy. Dad didn't win custody, and mom got to put me in therapy. I tried talking to my dad and telling him I didn't want to be BFFs with my stepsister, and I didn't want to do everything with her, but he ignored it. And he's so much worse now because he acts like I'm bullying her when I don't want to talk nonstop to her, or when I don't include her when I'm at mom's house. So I asked my mom if she could look into getting full custody of me. Her attorney said we could try, and dad counter-filed for full custody, so it was a back and forth between them. Mom had the support of my therapist, and because of that, the judge decided to speak to me. She said she wanted to hear what I'd say, but I didn't get to decide exactly. I told her everything and what I wanted and that I was serious about it. And the judge decided to let mom have full custody of me, but the rule is, I need to maintain phone contact with dad if nothing else. It specifies how long, how often, etc., but I don't need to be at his house anymore. Now, other than school, I never see my stepsister and it's great. And at school, I tell her I don't want to talk and walk away. Plus, I get an extended break because summer. It's great and I'm happy about it. My dad's mad, which I expected, but he told me I wasn't very nice about any of it and that I might not have bullied my stepsister before, but now I basically am, and I'm punishing her for loving me and being my sister. He said I acted like a spoiled mean girl who couldn't handle sharing with someone. And he also said I ran away from most of my family. I don't think so, but maybe he's right, and I do hate that I lost my dad in all of this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Even if you were full sisters or even twins, you still deserve to have your own life, activities, and friends. If your father and stepmother has let the relationship naturally grow, you may have been closer to your stepsister, but their interference and their delusion that you need to be joined at the hip ruined any chance of that. Not the a-hole. Agreed. I know this stuff happens more often with twins, but it shouldn't happen to anyone. At least me and my stepsister look different enough. I can imagine it's more frustrating when you are identical twins and feel like you're not even you at all. Not the a-hole, but please be wary of planning to go to college. They're going to likely try to pawn you off on the same university, so you can be roommates and save money or some other crap. I wouldn't share where you want to go with dad or stepmom and stepsister. I'd even consider telling them fake universities. I won't share a thing about this stuff with him or them. He doesn't need to know, and I won't risk her copying me because he shares. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying my dad is only a good dad to my half-siblings, not me, and using other family to back me up? For 12 years, it was just me, 17 male, and my dad, and for 13 years, I was an only child. My mom wasn't involved when I was a baby, like not involved at all. I never actually met her. She died when I was 5.5, and I have vague memories of her funeral. I grew up with both my mom's and dad's families in my life. But at home, it was just me and my dad, and he wasn't Father of the Year, or even a contender either. He made sure there was a roof over my head and food in the house under that roof. That was it. I had different babysitters until I was old enough to do simple stuff for myself. Once I reached that point, at like 5 or 6 years old, I was on my own. Extended family would take me for a day or two at a time. They'd check in. They used to chase after Dad to pay more attention to me. Some offered to raise me too, but he never took them up on those offers, so I stayed with him and went to family members' houses during the day, and some weekends or weeknights if something important was going on at school or whatever. Then he met and married his wife when I was 12, and they had a kid together when I was 13. There was a total change in him. He took some time off work to be with his wife and the baby, got up in the middle of the night with the baby, even after he went back to work. Suddenly, Sunday was family day, and they were doing things together. He and his wife planned for the just in case they both died and asked his oldest sister to take the baby and any other kids if something happened to them. She asked about me, and after a few awkward seconds, he said he figured that was a given. But he never legally put things in place for me according to my aunt. It's just my half-siblings, and I have 3 half-siblings now. All 3 were newborns, and there was something in place for the worst. Apparently, I was 13 when a verbal thing happened for me. Yay! With my first half-sibling being 4 now, I can really see the difference in Dad as a parent, because he actually is one. He's involved in teaching them, in putting them to bed, in making food for them, and in knowing what they will and won't eat. There are all kinds of ways he's involved. And yeah, he has a partner with him now for this stuff, but he had support with me and he didn't do anything. For the first time in over 4 years, my dad and his wife wanted a date night, and Dad told me I needed to babysit on a Friday night. I told him no, and he asked why. I told him I work Friday nights. He said I could call off one night, and I said no. I told him he could afford a babysitter like he did for me when I was younger. Then he said they hate the thought of leaving the kids with strangers, and I asked why he didn't hate that when I was born. He told me it was a different time and set of circumstances, and come on, I'm a part of the family, and babysitting is the role of the oldest. I was like, since when am I part of this family? And he told me, always. Then he said he's a damn good dad, and my attitude is claiming otherwise, and it was pissing him off. I said he was never a good dad to me, only to my half-siblings. He got pissy about it, and spent 2 weeks telling me I was wrong. So we had dinner at my grandparents' house, and my 2 aunts and 3 uncles were there with us, and I asked them if Dad was a good dad to all his kids, or just my half-siblings. They all said he was hardly a dad to me at all, but was amazing with my half-siblings. His wife stormed off because the kids were at the table and she was like, "Why the heck are you bringing it up in front of them for?" Dad told his family they were being harsh, and they told him they all know me better than he does, and worried about me more than he ever did. Ever since dinner, Dad's been trying to prove he's a good dad to me, and he fails every time. He's mad that I brought family into it to prove a point. His wife's mad that I brought it up in front of her kids. And she's mad that I don't consider myself family and ask what kind of way that is for her kids to live. Then she said I basically made her kids feel like their family cares for them less than they do for me. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not the a-hole. Her saying you shouldn't have brought it up in front of her kids. They're 4 and under. They'll never remember anyway. So that's a pathetic excuse, and just her way of trying to deflect blame away from your dad. And make it about you being the problem rather than him. He's an a-hole for treating you like that when you were young and acting like he did nothing wrong. Now you've told him and all his family members have done too. You're 17. When you hit 18, I'd seriously think about moving out and going low to no contact with him. You've put up with for long enough. That's a big part of the reason I'm working so hard right now. I want to get out, but to not need anything from him either. I'll have other family who can help, and that's great. I just never want to find myself needing to beg him for something, because that's what it'd be. Begging. He's not the kind of person I could turn to. Most of my school supplies, even my laptop, were bought by other family members. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law I will never forgive his daughter, and I have no intention of ever having her near my family? So the people involved here, me, 30 female, my husband, 35 male, my older sister, 35 female, my sister's son Kevin, 14 male, her husband Joe, 40 male, Joe's daughter Kelly, 15 female. My sister had a blended family with her bio son, her husband, and her stepdaughter. I would say it was still a work in progress for them, but we all accepted and included Joe and Kelly into our lives. A few weeks ago, my husband and I organized a little get-together at our place to celebrate my birthday, and for people in our family to spend time with our 6-month-old son. The people present were my sister and her family plus our parents, so very intimate and chill. Everything went well, and nothing out of the ordinary happened. But some days after the gathering, my nephew Kevin came to our house and asked to speak to me about something concerning. For info, Kevin and Kelly attend the same school and have some mutual friends. My nephew told me that Kelly had been telling her friends that during the gathering, she saw her step-uncle's, my husband's, organ. She claimed she was in the bathroom. My husband entered without knocking, and he had his organ out, and that's how she ended up seeing it. This is absurd, because my husband does not do this even when we are alone in our home. And honestly, who does that when they know they have guests over? So I asked everybody who was present that day to meet at my parents' house and confronted Kelly. She started crying and confessed she lied to her friends. According to her, all of her girlfriends had already had some sort of intimacy and experiences, and she had none by that point. So she invented this story to look cool in front of her friends. I lost it. I called her a disgusting POS, a psychopath, and told her she risked my son's father's life just to boost her stupid social life among her friends. I told the rest of my family that, going forward, I will never bring my family near Kelly again. The consequences for this girl came fast. My nephew told everybody at school the truth. My sister and Joe went to the school and informed the principal about what happened, so in case any teacher heard that BS, they would know it was made up and not take action. My parents cut contact with her and will not host her in their house anymore. And my sister refuses to have Kelly live with them, so she was permanently moved to her mother's place. Before you start judging my sister for this, please keep in mind that she has a bio son who needs to be protected. If Kelly could so easily invent and tell those things about my husband, who can guarantee she will not lie about her stepbrother too? Now Joe is obviously hurt and torn about everything that happened. He keeps telling me that Kelly is depressed and wants to apologize to my family, but I keep refusing. I explained to him that I don't need her apology, and she shouldn't waste her time with this, because I will never forget what happened or move past it. Joe keeps begging me to forgive her because she's just a stupid teenager, and maybe if my sister sees me forgiving her, she will be willing to eventually accept Kelly back. I told Joe that a stupid teenager can have the power to ruin a man's life and reputation, so I am not risking it. Also, I fully support my sister, and I want to protect my nephew too. Before Kelly was moved to her mother's, Kevin stayed with me and my husband for some days. So I don't regret my decision at all. I stand by everything that I said, but I feel bad for my brother-in-law. Regardless of how messed up his daughter is, he is a great guy, respectful, and he really values the concept of family and honesty. So I don't know. I guess I want to ask if I was the a-hole towards him. Now for the top comments. Kevin showed his maturity here. He realized how devastating this lie could be for your husband. He is an amazing kid indeed, and he is very close to my husband and me, and knew from the start everything was a lie. Has your brother-in-law and Kelly's mom put her into therapy? Because there is no way she didn't realize the danger to your husband by her lies. She's 15, not 5. The thing that everyone keeps forgetting is even though it sounds like an accident the way she told it, it could still end up with him being arrested and charged with indecent exposure to a minor. Even if found innocent, he would always have that stigma attached to him. People around here don't mess around when it comes to things like this. Exactly. Thank you for this. I left a lot out of the post because I am not sure what it's allowed here or not. But let's say that no sane adult who heard her story would ever think it was an accident. She provided some details and made some remarks that made it look like he flashed her. Good for you for dealing with it right away. All of your family's actions and reactions were prompt and on point. Kelly's very much in the faux after fa. Kids don't think ahead. Kelly's old enough to understand the damage that accusations like that can cause. I suspect she told a secret to a couple of friends and it snowballed. Joe's marriage is in for some tough times. I wonder if it will survive. Your sister should never let Kelly back in the house while her son is there, if ever. I do hope Kelly gets counseling. This is the kind of thing that will stay with her, the story that family whispers about. I read a similar story, but the stepfather was a teacher. It cost him his job, his volunteer work, and most of his friendships. He never got those back when it was found out she had made the whole thing up. His ex, who had believed the daughter, was devastated by the situation. He had of course left the family home during the investigation, but he went further and walked away from the relationship, the family, and instead sent divorce papers. She even offered to leave her family and go away with him. He refused and disappeared. OP, you are not the a-hole. The only a-hole here is Kelly. She acted impulsively and should pay the price. Let it go from your mind. You have a family to protect. Next story. Am I the a-hole for reporting threats made by my husband's kids and their mom to CPS, and then leaving because I'm pregnant? I, 30 female, have been married for the last 2 years and together with my husband, 33 male, for a little over 4.5 years. He's divorced with 2 children, 11 and 13, with his ex. I was not the other woman. They were not married when I met him and had been divorced for at least 3 years by that point. But the ex was very difficult once I moved in with my husband. It was something that could be managed by reducing contact back then, but she made it clear she didn't want her kids to have a stepmom, and she did voice to the kids that she did not want them to like or respect me. It didn't work right away, and we got along well at the start, but a few weeks after the wedding, there was a very clear change in the relationship. It wasn't unmanageable, and we went to therapy together to try and make things work well like they had previously. Things changed for the worse when I became pregnant. We told the kids, and they became angry. They told their mom, and she became angry. And then the kids were aggressive in speaking to me. There was a lot of F-yous and F-offs and get the heck out of here from them. I was called names. I was told to get an abortion by the 13-year-old. My husband was speaking to his kids and punishing them when needed. But it got worse. And then the kids showed me texts between them and their mom, where there were threats to me and my unborn child, which turned into them threatening to make sure I didn't give birth. They were serious enough that I had to call my husband home from work early because the kids were acting like they might just follow through. He disciplined them, and he told me that I shouldn't worry because they wouldn't really do it. I told him I wasn't sure about that, and he told me he wouldn't let anything happen. But it almost did. The 11-year-old attempted to make the threats a reality. I told my husband I was not putting myself or our baby at risk. He told me it wouldn't happen again, and he'd be dealing with it all around, but he had no answer as to what he could do, not even to say the kids would never be left with just me. And then more threats came as we were fighting about it. I told him I was not taking chances with my baby. I made a report to CPS, and then I moved out of the house I share with my husband and in with my parents. This is all very recent, but the CPS investigation is taking this seriously from what I can tell. My husband has reached out to me, and he expressed how hurt and angry he was that I took it this far. His parents have also done the same. They told me I took it too far, and I could have worked with my husband to make this safer for me. But I feel like I gave it a chance, but he was far too blasé about it, especially after the attempt. But maybe I'm overreacting, and I'm here to be told if that's true or not. I only want to keep my baby safe. Am I the a-hole? You did not overreact. He didn't tell his family the whole story. I bet they don't know about the text or the threats. Get a divorce lawyer and ask for supervised visitation only. File for a restraining order from his kids and ex-wife for you and your unborn child. Involve CPS in the custody case. They know the whole story. The texts were mentioned, but it didn't matter because his parents still think there was a better way to handle this. It worries me that they don't take this as seriously as me. I understand they love their grandchildren and my husband loves his children, but this baby is a grandchild or child too, and is at risk even if they don't want to believe it. Not the a-hole. You went above and beyond trying to create a safe environment. Your baby's safety comes first, period. For me it does, but I don't think my husband or his parents feel the same way. Or they're overconfident that they won't let it happen, when one attempt already happened and could have caused so much harm. Sorry to ask this, but what was the one attempt? That feels like a huge part that's being downplayed. The attempt would have led to the threats being followed through on, if it had succeeded. The attempt involved the stairs. The threats were all physical violence though, and some of it very graphic in nature. Next story. Am I the a-hole for drawing a line with my girlfriend about our involvement in her now pregnant and intellectually disabled sister? I've been with my long-term girlfriend for several years. Her sister has an intellectual disability. She functions roughly at the level of a 13 to 15-year-old. She's generally a good person, and I've always treated her with respect. But she clearly struggles in many areas: holding a job, managing adult responsibilities, and general aspects of society. Her family has supported her financially and emotionally for years. Recently, she married a man who is also intellectually disabled, although he seems somewhat more independent. A few weeks ago, I found out she's pregnant. According to my girlfriend, her sister wanted a baby because it would make her happy, and her parents are on board. They've expressed that the child can also take care of her sister when they grow up. Until then, they, and possibly the husband's family, plan to help raise the child. I reacted negatively when I heard this. From everything I know and have seen, I honestly don't think she can safely or responsibly raise a child on her own. The idea that the baby is being brought into the world with the expectation that it will be the caretaker someday feels deeply unfair, to the child most of all. I brought up these concerns with my girlfriend. She supports her sister's decision, but when I asked if she'd feel comfortable leaving our future baby with her sister for a week, she admitted she wouldn't. That honestly just reinforced my concerns. I told her that while I respect her sister, I want it to be crystal clear between us that I disagree with the decision and that I will refuse us taking on any extra sort of a parenting help or be financially burdened in the future by this. I'm not okay with the idea that our future family, or me personally, would be expected to step in and support her sister's child long-term, outside of normal uncle-aunt interactions. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I had to reread the child can take care of her sister when they grow up part like 3 times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. That's actually an insane take. Having a child, putting it in an environment where you know it won't be properly cared for because the parents aren't mentally or physically equipped, and justifying it all with it'll be the carer is horrible. Not the a-hole. Honestly, you sound like the only sane one that's given any thought about that little human in this entire situation. Also, with both parents being intellectually disabled, isn't there a certain probability that the child inherits some of their disabilities and needs help themselves, rather than being able to give it? I knew a couple who both had intellectual disabilities, raising 2 children with average intelligence. The kids passed their parents' functioning levels at about 10, and it was an absolute mess. The kids were running the house, and if the parents tried to set boundaries, the kids could easily manipulate the parents and get around them. The parents had no control, and the kids had increasingly severe behavioral issues. They ended up having a sister move in and take over parenting entirely, which got the kids under control pretty quickly, but led to resentment from the parents, who felt usurped. It was a mess. They did end up giving custody to the sister, and the couple moved out and had another baby. APS and CPS need to be involved here. One of my closest friends had almost the same situation about 10 years ago now. Sister with an intellectual deficiency married a guy who also had an intellectual deficiency. They got pregnant. They couldn't take care of the baby, and my friend has had guardianship since the baby was 5 days old. If she hadn't said yes to the guardianship, baby would have been placed for adoption. Has anybody even considered that as an outcome? It sounds like the grandparents might be willing to step up and do that if needed, but there's a difference between saying they will and actually doing the thing when it comes down to it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for pulling away from my parents because they always decide to break bad news on important days for me? This was a long-running thing with my parents and something my siblings, 19 and 17, commented on. I, 21 male, am the oldest of 3. And starting at a young age, my parents have made weird decisions about breaking bad news. It started when I was 7. I was the lead in our school play, and 20 minutes before the play starts, my parents decided to announce my great-grandma was dying. They had known about it for days at that point and waited to tell us and said they needed a good moment. Then they acted super shocked when I bawled in front of everyone. I messed up the whole play and couldn't get a single line right. Then when I was 9, it was the day of my assessment for learning disabilities. My parents announced on the way home that Dad had lost his job 3 weeks prior, so they could have waited another day or 2 to tell us, and we'd have to make a lot of changes in our lives. At the time, I wondered if they saw my learning disabilities as a burden on top of everything and resented me for it. The morning of my 10th birthday party, not my actual birthday but a few days after, they told us they had to put our dog down 2 days before and had not sent him to our grandparents' house for a few days to not have him running around during the party. They announced they were getting a divorce on my 15th birthday. My mom waited until my graduation to announce she was diagnosed with cancer. She'd known for 2 months, just waited, and again on a day important for me. When I moved out for college, I dropped the rope. I didn't call or text. I didn't even check in on Mom. I spoke to my siblings every day, sometimes twice a day, but I didn't invest in my relationship with my parents. I didn't go to either house for Christmas or summer break. I figured out other stuff. They called a few times and I answered, but I would always make it short and to the point. My siblings said my parents thought I was just being a typical first-time college kid, but it started to get more obvious by the first Christmas after I moved out. They avoided bringing it up until this summer, when they saw on Insta that I moved into an apartment with 3 of my plants, and we decided to put down roots here. They brought up the elephant in the room and I was honest. They asked me why I never talked to them about it, and I said it wasn't something I should have to bring up, because they weren't announcing things as they happened. They'd wait and that crap felt intentional. I said they didn't forget when my birthday was, or that I was 10 minutes away from performing in the school play. And the lack of sensitivity made them less approachable. Both of them think I was petty to pull away for this. My siblings think they're just heavily in denial. Am I the a-hole? Your parents think you're wrong to pull away because how are they ever going to screw up an important day for you ever again if you don't give them the chance to? Not the a-hole. Enjoy your peace. Your folks use you as an emotional punching bag and you're under no obligation to allow them to do that to you. Abusers get annoyed when they lose control of their victims. Not the a-hole. Tell them you didn't want them to know you got an apartment and then be told the next day that an uncle died a year ago. Or when you graduate, then they can tell you that they have to move across the country the next day. And heaven forbid you get married. And on the day they announce they got a divorce the year before, and each of them is getting married to other people next month. You stop the pattern, because when people are at their happiest, is not the time to share bad news, nor is it when they are at their lowest, but the best time is as soon as possible from the knowledge of the event. Even the putting down of the dog could have been a discussion a month before, with time to say goodbye. Not getting to say goodbye to him really sucked. My siblings and I loved him, and he was in our family before any of us were born. So to go from he's at our grandparents to now he's dead was very traumatic. Update. Am I the a-hole for flirting with another girl after my girlfriend introduced me as a friend? Original post. Me, 28 male, and my girlfriend, 29 female, have been together for more than 2 years. We recently moved cities, and she started working in a new place 3 months ago. 2 days ago, there was an after-work get-together event at a bar with her co-workers, and she forgot her phone charger at home and her battery was low. So I went to give her the extra power bank we have at home, as her phone uses the old USB type. As I went to her table to give it to her, one of her colleagues asked her who I am. Before I could say anything, she replied, "This is my friend OP. He agreed to lend me the charger." I was a bit taken aback and looked at her and said, "Friend?" She just laughed and said, "You are so funny. Thank you for this," and waved to me, as in implying goodbye. One of the other colleagues asked me if I was free. I could also join them. And I said why not, and I could sense the annoyance on my girlfriend's face. People were drinking. Some talked to me and asked me questions, made conversation. What do I do? Where did I grow up, etc. I should mention at this point that my girlfriend and most of her colleagues there were Chinese, and I am Indian. This becomes relevant later. Whenever someone would ask me anything related to how I met my girlfriend, she would pipe up to answer in a way that wasn't untrue, but completely omitted any romance, giving the impression that we were just old friends. This kept bothering me, and I will admit I was getting pretty angry. Then one of the colleagues, who initially asked who I was, pretty drunk now, said, "She never told us she had such a good-looking friend," and laughed. My girlfriend also did a small polite laugh. I replied, "I didn't know she had such a pretty colleague either," and winked at her, which made her laugh more, but my girlfriend became visibly upset. Another colleague said to my girlfriend, "Seems like you are an expert Cupid." My girlfriend was turning red, and I was also feeling slightly uncomfortable. So after a bit more chit-chat, I made an excuse and said I had to go. The colleague said I should get her number from my girlfriend, and then I left. Now when she came back, she refused to talk to me. And yesterday she angrily told me that I had kind of cheated on her and hurt her badly. I replied that although what I did was hurtful, she also needs to own up to the fact that introducing me as just a friend was hurtful. She refuses to acknowledge it as wrong, saying that she is just socially awkward, and she thought that her colleagues might react weirdly to her dating an Indian guy, as they all are dating white or other Chinese people. Her reasoning is that it is a lot of explanation and questions regarding interracial dating, and she just wanted to avoid all that. I don't buy it. I feel she just wanted to hide the fact that she is dating me. We are at an impasse. I refuse to apologize until she sees that what she did was wrong, and she thinks she did not do anything wrong, and that I was mean. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your girlfriend essentially erased your relationship to her new friends. New friends, I might add, who clearly didn't give a toss about your ethnicity. Your judgment was right. She just didn't want to admit she was dating you. Sorry, but that's a deal breaker. I would love to buy this man a drink for the way he handled it. She didn't want him to be her boyfriend in this group, so he didn't act like it. Beautiful. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend introduced you as just a friend after 2 years together? That's hurtful. Flirting back was petty, but understandable. She can't hide the relationship and expect you to act like her boyfriend in front of people she's hiding you from. You both need to talk honestly about why she's ashamed to acknowledge you. Not the a-hole, but you're not going to recover from this because the incident clearly demonstrates the kind of relationship you have. She's ashamed of you, socially. She'll keep you a secret, and you're not going to be able to progress in terms of commitment. If she's ashamed of calling you boyfriend, do you think she'll be willing to call you fiancé or husband? Now for the update. Thank you all for your responses and advice on my previous post. The last 3 days were a whirlwind. To answer some questions people had, in the work friend group that day, there were 3 guys as well. I did not publicly correct her because saving face is quite important for her. She would have had a literal panic attack if I had done that. On Friday we talked. I admitted I was petty, but I was also hurt by her introduction of me as a friend. She broke down. At work they have a group chat where they share memes, and it gave her the impression that they hate Indian people. She did not want to become the topic of jokes, so she had planned to introduce me slowly to the group, as a friend, and after they started liking me, reveal that we were dating. This backfired badly because I started talking to them last week before she was ready, and she got anxious and went into autopilot mode to support her initial lie that I was a friend. She felt helpless, guilty, and hurt when they found me acceptable and cool, and I started flirting. Why did she not tell me all this earlier? She felt that it would make me dislike her coworkers, who are otherwise actually nice people, and she thought I would feel bad that she works with them. I asked her if I could see that group chat. I wanted to make sure this was the real reason and not a work crush, as many had suggested. Almost 1/3 of the older memes they shared were Indians dirty and civilized, or Indians horny creeps, etc. Y'all know, they're plenty on IG. There were also some about Southeast Asians, mostly posted by one guy and one girl. Others would just laugh, react, or add a one-liner. I scrolled back to an old message by my girlfriend to one of these memes. She had said, "I have an Indian friend. He is pretty nice actually." Someone had replied, "You found one of the clean ones," followed by a bunch of laugh reacts. There were also some recent messages after they met me, but I didn't bother to read and translate it all. I realized that although she liked my personality and looks, she was never very interested in my language or culture. Since I started dating her, I got an HSK3, can cook most Chinese dishes perfectly, and know all about her region. But Holi will come and go without her still knowing what Holi is. I felt hurt that those kinds of jokes weren't a big enough deal for her. I asked her why she never said anything to them about these jokes. She said this is the kind of reaction why she didn't tell me before. She feels like a relationship is private and is not a part of who she is as a person, especially at work, so she saw no reason to create tension. I feel she just means I am not worth it. I asked her point blank if she would have preferred if I were not Indian. She said it would have made her life easier. That stung me. I packed some clothes and went to a friend's house. I don't even know how to write about my feelings even now, but I felt very hurt, as if my trust was completely broken by her. My friend is going on vacation and will let me stay at his place while I find a new one. Today I went to get my other belongings, and she was crying a lot. She says she does not understand why something so minor can make me break up and throw away a good thing. She says she loves me, and if it is so important, she will change her workplace. I told her I will need to think about things, but I cannot be with her right now. My brain honestly feels like a jumble right now. I know that I feel hurt, but I'm having a hard time articulating exactly what things hurt me. It's interesting that she feels that erasing a whole part of who you are is something so minor. She wasn't proud of you, didn't defend you, didn't have courage to call you hers publicly. So she loses all the goodness that you are. OP, I'm proud of you for choosing yourself and holding a line. It would be easy to just try to get past this, but you're honoring your worth. Your ex can find an easier partner more aligned with her ingrained racism. In the meantime, you're going to go on kicking goals in life. Exactly. She hid who OP was and called it minor. That's not love or respect. Yeah, did the right thing by choosing yourself and walking away. Bruh, this is not minor. She is delulu if she thinks their racism and her own is minor. You are absolutely right to break things off with her. Do not ever consider getting back with her. Racism should be a deal breaker. End of story. Next story. My girlfriend reminded me to pay her back $10 after I forgot my wallet. I've paid for almost everything over 4 years, and it left me feeling weird. Original post. I, 28 males, have been with my girlfriend, 24 females, for 4 years. We're serious, planning to get married. Throughout the relationship, I've paid for nearly everything. Dates, trips, food, gifts, you name it. I'd say easily 99% of all expenses were covered by me. She never really offered to split or pay, and I never asked her to. I was working full-time and doing well financially, so I didn't mind. Recently, though, I quit my job because I was mentally exhausted. I've been going through a bit of a burnout and needed a break. She, on the other hand, is currently working full-time and doing fine financially. The other day, we went out and she wanted a bubble tea. I forgot my wallet and my phone was dead, so I asked her to pay for it. It was like $10. She paid, drank it, and I dropped her off at her apartment. The next morning, she reminded me to send her the money. I had completely forgotten, so I sent it right away, but it left a weird feeling. I've spent thousands on her over the years, never asked for a dime back, and now that I'm out of a job and she's doing well, she couldn't let a $10 bubble tea slide. It's not about the money, it's about what it says. I can't tell if I'm overthinking this or if it's a red flag. I've always treated the relationship as a partnership, and this just felt transactional. Am I being too sensitive, or is this worth paying attention to? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Excuse me, sir. Are you saying that she wanted bubble tea for herself, expected you to pay, and because you couldn't pay it, she had to pay for her own bubble tea herself? And now you have to give her money for the bubble tea she paid because she wanted it? That's just weird. I mean, I would understand if you offered, forgot your wallet, and said, "Go on, I'll give you the money later." But she invited herself for you to pay her bubble tea? Yeah, I get how it sounds. And honestly, looking back, maybe it was a bad decision. But the truth is, I was just trying to be that man, the one who takes care of everything, so that later when we have kids, she wouldn't have to worry about money or struggle like I saw people. I thought I was doing the right thing by carrying it all, even when I was sinking. I didn't realize how one-sided it was becoming until it was too late. I wanted to be strong for her, but in the end, I just drained myself trying to live up to something that wasn't even appreciated. I hate to tell you, though this woman has zero empathy or consideration for you. Whether you've been the person financing everything in the relationship in the past, the fact is emotionally you're not in that place to do it now, and she is doing absolutely zero to help you while you're in a tough place. It's a partnership, and relationships are always going to have ups and downs. But she is choosing to not be there to be your support to lean on during your tough time. I really think you need to take a serious look at this, and perhaps get yourself into some counseling to see if she's really meeting your emotional needs. Sending you an internet hug, my friend, you deserve better. Feels a little transactional? Your entire relationship has been transactional. 4 years of you paying for the entirety of the relationship. You're paying her to be in a relationship with you. What is that, 30K over 4 years? She doesn't have to put a cent towards things. Could have been 15K you saved if she chipped in on things. And when you two break up, probably will happen, her bank account is nice and juicy. Meanwhile, yours has a burnt hole in it. You're considering marrying each other. Will it always be her money is her money and your money is our money? What is her expectations for marriage? Because if her savings don't become your savings, you are marrying bad. For real, he's been financing her their entire relationship, and suddenly this $10 is the straw that broke the camel's back? OP, she's been using you for money the entire relationship. This isn't news. Just unsure why you've been fine with it until now. Now for the update. Thanks to everyone who commented. I've been reading everything and it really helped me step back and see things clearly. When we started dating, we were both students. I was finishing engineering and already had a job lined up. I also worked as a teaching assistant, so I was doing fine financially. She was still a student, so I paid because she was broke. I never asked her to pay and she never offered. Still never offered to split anything, not even the small stuff. I tried bringing up equality and shared effort, but she always shut it down with comments like, "You're the man, you should take care of me," or "We can't have two women in the relationship." What really got to me is that when I stopped proposing dates or doing everything, she started saying I wasn't making enough effort. Meanwhile, I've been carrying this for 4 years. That bubble tea wasn't about the $10. It was about realizing how little support I was getting back. So yeah, I'm out. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to share details about my finances with my girlfriend and her parents? I, 23 male, just got out of the Marine Corps and moved back in with my parents to go to school full-time using the GI Bill. My tuition, books, and living stipend are covered, and I'm also serving in the reserves. I've always been disciplined with money. I save aggressively, invest, and live way below my means, even though I have hobbies like riding my motorcycle and gaming. I'm good with money, and I have a solid plan for the future. My girlfriend, 22 female, and I have been together since high school. She's also living at home, going to nursing school and working part-time as a restaurant host. She's told me she's super stressed about her finances. She has a high car payment and insurance, and she spends a lot on self-care stuff. Salon, nails, cosmetics, designer bags, etc. She admits she doesn't budget or plan much. Lately, she and even her parents have been pressing me to talk about my financial situation. They've asked how much money I have saved, what I earn, how I invest, and even hinted that we should open joint accounts. My girlfriend recently told me that if I'm not more open about money, maybe we need to take a break. That really threw me. We're not married, not even living together. I don't see how joint finances or total transparency make sense at this stage. I was raised to believe you keep your finances private unless you're married or building a life together, and even then, you don't have to merge everything. My parents think it's bizarre that her folks are getting involved, and they've warned me not to share financial details this early. They've even said if we eventually marry, we should consider keeping separate accounts and maybe a prenup, especially since we have such different attitudes toward money. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I the a-hole for keeping my financial details to myself? Is it actually that weird to want privacy about money while we're still in school and living at home? Or are her concerns valid and I'm being too guarded? Edit. To clarify, I care about her a lot and want the relationship to work. I'm just worried that if I start sharing financial details now, it sets a precedent I'm uncomfortable with, especially with how much influence her parents seem to have. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my finances and resisting the idea of joint financial planning while we're both still students living at home? Not the a-hole. She and her parents want her to be spending your money. It's none of her parents' business. If she wants a break over this, take one. Find a girlfriend who's responsible with money and who has financial behavior that matches yours. Her parents are probably tired of financially bailing her out and are thinking they can pass it on to you. Brother, I would take a break and see where it goes. Besides, if you merge finances, her debt becomes yours, whether you keep separate accounts or not. You say you love her, but maybe it's time to love someone else. If they get married, then she will be his problem. The fact her parents are trying to pawn her off when they aren't married or even engaged is a huge red flag. Your finances are absolutely none of her business right now. Get ready to get bombarded with requests for support once they find out you have reserves. I don't want to suggest breaking up with her, because it sounds like you have been together for a long time, and I will assume she has some great qualities. But the fact that she is irresponsible with money and has no blueprint for succeeding in life means she is relying on you as her get-out-of-jail-free card. Her poor decisions and issues are about to become yours. She needs to address the underlying problem and fix it. I recommend doing Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University together as a couple. This will serve as a great indicator of how she will be in a marriage and also be a good litmus test as to if you are truly compatible. This course is great because it is highly motivating and will get you on the same page financially. Or at least, it will help unite you in your goals. For the love of God, do not join finances with this woman or share how much you have in savings. It's none of her business or her parents. That's a bigger red flag that they are getting involved.